I'm Joanna. Welcome to my channel. This is my 13th video. Today I'm going to review 4 books, 3 fiction, 1 nonfiction. Let's get started. The first book is The Blob, a Love Story by Maggie Sue. This is not my usual cup of tea, but I did find myself laughing out loud a few times. So the main character is Violet Liu, Vi for short. She's a 24-year-old woman. So she doesn't carry a very high opinion of herself. This contributes to her being socially awkward. She seems to blame herself for anything that goes wrong in her life. And she actually tolerates being treated poorly by her peers, by boys. And within her family dynamics, she feels like her parents judge her. She compares herself with her brother. And all around, she is just feeling insignificant. After a recent breakup, Vi stumbles upon a blob creature, and she decides to bring the blob home. And she names the blob Bob, and then she feeds the blob. And as she feeds the blob begins gradually to grow body parts until he becomes a full adult human male. So the story builds, has lots of twists and turns. And I was happy to know that the blob indirectly helps Vi with some very important life lessons for her future. On the other hand, I was horrified for Bob the Blob because he is left to experience the world with very limited knowledge of what it's like to be a person, of what it's like to function in society as, a person. I was hoping to get answers at the end of the book. No, it ends abruptly. It's as if it's unfinished, or the author, wants the reader to draw their own conclusions. I'm not sure. This would make a pretty decent series, but it doesn't work as a standalone book for me. For this reason, I give this 2.5 stars. Book number 2, The Paris Novel by Ruth Rochelle. In this novel, the main character is a woman named Stella. Now, Stella has a prickly relationship with her self-centered mother from childhood all the way to adulthood. So the author reveals rather early in the novel, I think it's the 2nd chapter, very sensitive content. Turns out that Stella, as a small child, was molested by one of her mother's boyfriends, Modemar. Perhaps this is the way the author chose to develop the character. We see Stella doubting her self-worth all the time, and her lifestyle, even the way she dresses, is very understated. And there is a particular older man in the book that Stella does not trust because she thinks about the manipulative boyfriend when she was a child. So when Stella's mother passes, she leaves Stella a ticket to Paris and a few vouchers. Eventually, Stella goes to Paris. And while there, she is forced to look introspectively at herself, and throughout the thread of the novel, eventually become to accept who she is. And through the help of new friends, she learns new revelations about her mother and her father, and eventually she also finds a dream job. The author did write descriptively about Paris, and she included some wonderful food dishes, which was fun. Overall, the prose did not move me. I felt distant from the characters. I was anxious for this story to end. I give this a 3-star. Book number 3, We Are All Here by Jojo Moyes. Jojo Moyes is an English writer. She typically writes romance novels, and she's very popular. The main character is a 42-year-old woman named Lila. She has 2 children, and her husband recently left her for another woman, and they are about to have a new baby. And so the children and the mom are going through this divorce together. The second character is Cece. She is the daughter of Lila, and she's 16 years old. So the story is told in two perspectives, through Lila and also through Cece. So Cece does not know how to deal with the divorce. She only knows that something is very wrong with her. Couple that with going through the experiences of adolescence, and we just watch Cece have a meltdown. Then Lila's biological father, whom she hasn't seen for years and whom she did not grow up with, knocks at the door and asks if he could stay at her place for a while. Meanwhile, the father Lila did grow up with is living at her place as well. So everyone in the household has a problem or a kind of an issue, and because they're issues that most of us are familiar with, it makes it for a fun read. It's your basic messy family, but the author uses humor to lighten it up a bit. I like that the characters hold a certain level of respect for each other for the most part. This makes for a loving type of family. The author develops the characters fully. I liked them. I empathized with them. This made for a compelling read. Jojo Moyes has a particular talent when it comes to constructing relatable scenarios in her story. Her prose flow with vibrant energy. She's a favorite of mine. I give this book 4 stars. My nonfiction book, California Avocados, A Delicious History by Rob Crissell. This is a delicious history book. It's an informational book, and so many of us wonder with questions about the avocado because so many of us eat them. I learned so many facts and details about the avocado. I know it's a fruit. I know it's an evergreen tree, that it grows over 30 feet tall, some species. I know there are 900 species or varieties of avocado because Rob Crissell explains all that. He even explains the complexities of the pollination process. He talks about the exertion of creating an avocado industry, which wasn't easy. I mean, it took scientists, geneticists, horticulturists, great marketing, etc., etc. And of course, he includes the water, the climate, how the housing and commercial industry affected the lands. It is completely packed with interesting detail. And it comes with a bonus. We are given an avocado recipe at the end of each chapter, one dated back to 1913. What makes this a fantastic read is that not only do we get a history of the avocado, but it threads through our history in this country. I would have liked some maps of the avocado region. That would have been fun, but overall, this was a very interesting, factual, and well-researched book. I give this book 5 stars. I'll be back next week with 4 more books.